What is up, YouTube? This is X, and we are back with another chapter review of One Piece chapter 1056. This chapter was a great chapter as well. Not as good as last week's chapter or the week before's chapter, but nonetheless, still One Piece heat, and Oda is giving us goodness every single week. So we start off the chapter with the opening scene of Raizo and Shinobu on their deathbeds. Not really on their deathbeds, but in a state where they're withered like a dried up plant from Green Bull's attack. I didn't see Shinobu get attacked by Green Bull's vines or whatever, but Raizo, of course. But I guess they'll flesh that out more in the anime and whatnot. Then we transition to the Minks, Inuarashi and Nekomamushi, telling Carrot that she's going to be the leader of the entire Mink tribe on Zou. This was pretty jarring to me. I feel like Carrot's character really didn't lead up to her getting this position. I felt like Oda should have at least made her a dual ruler, just like how Nekomamushi and Inuarashi are, and then like give it to Wanda as well, just so she's not like the sole ruler making all the decisions and whatnot. It just doesn't feel right with Carrot's character, if you know what I mean. But I'll still take it because this gives Carrot something to do. It still aligns her like when Zou in the future, when Zou's going to be a part of like that last battle and whatnot, it allows her to lead the Mink tribe in a way where she can help bring the dawn to the world and fill Pedro's will. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know how I really feel about it, but I'm glad like Carrot still is going to have some relevancy to the story going forward. So then we transition to the Straw Hats discussing Pluton. Robin lets them know that Pluton's in Wano, and she asks Luffy if he wants a Pluton for himself. He says no, of course. We're not surprised by this. But what I found really interesting about this conversation is that in the beginning, Frankie's the one that's like is surprised that Pluton's in Wano, and I believe Luffy asks Frankie if he remembers him burning the blueprints to Pluton. This is interesting because there's this huge debate in the One Piece community saying that Frankie burned the combat weapon to Pluton, and not the blueprints of Pluton specifically. Let me restate that again. Frankie burnt the blueprints of the weapon that combats Pluton compared to the blueprints of Pluton. But this chapter makes it seem that Frankie burned the blueprints of Pluton. So this is quite interesting. I honestly, whatever the official goes by is what I am gonna go by. So it seems like back in Ennie's lobby, Frankie burned the blueprints to the original Pluton. It seems like there's multiple blueprints and whatnot, but Frankie burned those blueprints. I'm pretty sure he memorized it as well. So if anything, he could build it himself. Lastly, within this scene, we see Caribou, our guy, well, not our guy, the slimy guy, overhearing the news on the ancient weapon. Interesting stuff because he's overheard Poseidon, and now he overhears Pluton, and he specifically mentions he has to tell a specific guy. I don't know who this guy is. It seems like it has to be Blackbeard, but I'm thinking it's someone else. It might be a different player. Who knows who like Caribou's really working for or who's he's associated with. But leading up to Wano, it seemed like Caribou was gonna tell Kaido specifically. So it doesn't seem like this. Oh, obviously this guy's not Kaido. When we prior to predicting who the guy was that Caribou was mentioning when it came to Pluton. So it might honestly the chances for Blackbeard are high, but it could be a different player. I'm not too sure. But I'm pretty sure it might be Blackbeard. We see a scene of Momo running from room to room because he doesn't see all the Straw Hats there, and he comes to the realization that everyone's leaving when he asks his sister where they are. And this is good because finally Wano's ending. We're finally progressing into the new saga. This is great stuff. Honestly, it's kind of bittersweet though that it has to end, but it's just time. We transition to Luffy, Law, and Kid at the docks. I believe it's Tokage Port. All the crews are packing up to go, and they're debating on which way they should travel. So Law picks the north travel because it gets him the furthest, and I believe Luffy and Kid scream out east, which is the middle destination, and Law calls them kids because they're bickering and arguing about where to go, and then they draw straws, and then Luffy's makes a joke about, oh, I'm a Yonko, I should have never lost when I drew the straw, etc., etc. But I think what was interesting about this is on the next scene we have Law giving Kid a copy of the road poneglyph. So it really shows how respectable Law is as a character. And it just shows like among these three characters, they have a ton of respect for one another, even though they're rivals. So it's still a battle for the One Piece in their eyes. I don't think Law is really aiming for the One Piece. He's more aiming about the truth of the D and the history around that. But it just still shows like all these characters are, I mean, Luffy's is the number one, but it still shows that these characters are rivals nonetheless. Then Killer makes an interesting remark. He mentions a man marked by flames in the non-official translation and a man with a burned scar that they know of, so that they've met. And Luffy and Robin and Law over here, and they're like, wait, a man with a burned scar? Who is this that? And this gives like an indication of like this man is a key to the last poneglyph or the key to getting the One Piece. It might be not a key, he might be not a key to the last poneglyph, but he's a key to getting the One Piece, and he may know and have some knowledge of where the last road poneglyph is. And when I first read this, honestly, it's kind of hard to believe, but honestly, I thought of a new Lunarian character. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my mind, but I just was thinking like it has to be a Lunarian, no? Because in the non-official it was like man marked by flames, something, and hold up, that has to be a Lunarian. But with the translation, it's a burned scar. So now, honestly, and a lot of the community discussing this, they're thinking it's Scopper Gaban. And honestly, I hope it's Scopper Gaban because this narratively it just makes sense. And it'll be cool if Kid and Killer and Kid's crew met Scopper, just like how Luffy met Rayleigh, and like Kid didn't like go under Scopper's wing, but he like trained with him probably for like just like a couple days or a couple weeks, and he informed Kid on stuff like that, just like how Rayleigh mentored Luffy. So I think that'll be a great mirror, and it honestly will give Kid huge amount of points in my book. I have a ton of respect for Kid. Think he's a dope character and all, but it'll be dope if Scopper like has some history with Kid and whatnot. Maybe even if Kid was younger, and he had like Scopper played a role in Kid's development, and he was like, come seek me out when you want to seek out the One Piece, etc. Like, I think that would be dope narratively. Also, I didn't bring this up. I should have brought this up. That happened before. We have the reveal that Buggy formed Cross Guild, which is the title of this chapter. We have Majestic Chairman Buggy, who has Mihawk and Sir Crocodile under his wing. That is pretty awesome. The fact that, honestly, I know it's in the news and all, but I'm getting the feeling that Mihawk and Sir Crocodile, they're just joining Buggy to just be under and utilize like Buggy's influence. And it's like a mutualistic relationship they have with one another, which is interesting. I don't think Mihawk is really there. Like, I don't really think Mihawk even really cares about Buggy. He's just using his sphere of influence to be a player later on down the line into whatnot. But Mihawk's a character who could hold his own for sure if he's rivaling Shanks. He really doesn't need to be under Buggy's wing. But honestly, this makes the story interesting, and it really makes Buggy a major player in the end. And also, we have to reveal that Buggy is issuing bounties for the Marines. This is awesome because it helps build up tension between the pirates and the Marines themselves. And honestly, this is going to make a big clash for the final war. But I just think it's great that Oda's changing up the formula. We've never really seen this. My man Buggy put out a Uno reverse on the Marines, and this makes sense why Buggy is a Yonko, and the fact that he has both Mihawk and Crocodile under his wing. Lastly, we have the scene of Yamato saying she's gonna join the crew. Well, she's ready to join the crew. So let's see. honestly, the next chapter we might get a spin where she's like, I'm not comfortable, blah blah blah. Like, but it's confirmed that she wants to live like Odin. So I can't wait for her to join the crew. Maybe we'll finally see the toast of both Yamato and Jinbei with the entire crew, and then we finally set sail to the new island. Honestly, I can't wait for what's in store for One Piece going forward. There's just a lot of new excitement and stories that we're gonna get, and history that's gonna get revealed to us. I can't wait for the next island, and honestly, I'm hoping it's Elbaf, but we might get another island, like a small, like probably 10 chapter island that reveals something that we have to go to Elbaf and whatnot. But let's see. Otherwise, that is it for today's review. Actually, I want to bring up one more thing. So it's interesting how Kid and Killer, they have the road poneglyph copies, and it seems like they can read it. And it got me thinking, how can they read the poneglyphs? And honestly, I came to the conclusion that Killer is a Third Eye Tribe member. When we see Killer as Komazou, it's strange how we don't see his forehead. He's just wrapped in bandages and whatnot. But I feel like it makes sense that Killer would be a part of the Third Eye Tribe. I'm gonna guess that he's part of the Third Eye Tribe and he's able to read the poneglyphs. The fact that he constantly wears a mask, and the Third Eye Tribe, they're heavily sought after, so I think it would just make sense. Honestly, let me look up Killer as a kid. Hold on, because I think his hair might be covering his face. Yeah, we do see him. Yep, he's eating spaghetti. That's his favorite meal. Yeah, and his hair is still covering his forehead. Honestly, I'm gonna go say it right now. Killer is a part of the Third Eye Tribe, and that's how Kid is able to read the poneglyphs and whatnot. This is interesting because we'll learn more about Third Eye Tribe and what makes them so special to like the Void Century and like the One Piece and all that, and in the Ancient Kingdom and all that history. So, okay, that is officially it for today's chapter review. Great chapter. I believe we're on a break due to the magazine being on break, but that is it. I'm gonna have more videos coming for you soon, especially about Bonnie. I have my thoughts and ideas about Bonnie, and I don't know why no one's really talking about her, because I feel like she played a major role in the Reverie, especially from converting Kuma back to his original state and allowing them to escape and Vivi to survive. But I'm gonna have a video discussing that more. So that is it. X is signing off. Thank you guys for reviewing. I really appreciate you guys. Peace.